Okay, so hopefully take two, take 10, take a million is better. Uh, so I'm just gonna look at the editor for GoBrunch. I guess as a little intro, this is basically a blend of Zoom and Discord, but with a ton more customizability options, which makes it really powerful and personalized. So when you create a space, there's a lot of these pre-made background options, but if you have the tier 2, I think, then it doesn't really matter because you can change the background. So basically what you would look for is something where you can have as many pre-laid out spots already, so you don't have to keep adding spots. Although it would be cool if you could just kind of put in, I want 100 seats and it auto adds it. That should come. The developers tend to features. Yeah, I just want to get rid of the mic stuff. But I'm just gonna reload. And I'm gonna also get rid of those things on the front that keep asking me to upload a logo because they get in my way. I don't need them. So it's this thing. It's from here. Wow, seriously, is this the time to be making a lot of noise right outside my door? Bloody hell, patience is a virtue, ain't it? So we can save, and from that you can see that GoBrunch actually, there's a specific window in which it saves the code. So now that is gone. Um, how long does it take to do whatever it is they're doing? Oh my gosh. Anyway, so we're going back, go back into the edit. There are two or three main things I want to test. Um, the first is the fact that you can add a background, but as we will see, the background kind of just whatever your image size is, I guess it would fall to the outside of the page. So if the image was small, you just get a pixelated version. My image is optimized. But it does stop in the height. So it falls the width or the shortest, the width first, and then it just kind of stops. So I'm gonna assume it also, let's just get back to editor window. So it falls the width. So on narrow, see as it starts collapsing. Um, and that's kind of a hassle because now you would have to create a very long image, right? So one way to get around this, because we can edit this window and we can edit this, is to find this image. And the problem is here that because it's not a background image, editing properties on this isn't gonna have the effect we're looking for. So I'm actually just going to delete this image. And what is odd is the fact once I've added an image, it seems I can kind of only override it. I can't delete it, which is kind of odd. But anyway, so I'm just going to delete this for test purposes. And now we have no background, but it doesn't matter because our main target is actually this container that's holding everything. It's the SVG view box. Now, what we want to do is we can edit attribute, and then just kind of go past it and add our own attribute, or we could edit the whole thing as HTML. But anyway, I'm just going to do this background red. And now it should be red. So if I save this, the full container is red. And if we go into public view, we'll see that it persists. So it does persist. And the thing is, mobile view, I tried mobile view, but mobile view doesn't persist. I think mobile view gets recreated, i.e. that code isn't being stored. It's just getting added to the window. So I couldn't add a background to mobile view. It seemed like it works, but it actually doesn't because it doesn't persist. If you would like to save sometime today, that would be wonderful. Like anytime, really. Like maybe right about now would be good. Okay, anyway, so our red background persists, so we know this works. So we'll go back into the editor, we'll go back into inspect mode, and we want the SVG box. We already added the style. So tends to be that if you once you add a style, at least if it hasn't got a style yet, then I can start working in the inspector here, which is just a little bit more convenient and gives you a lot more auto completion. So now we can do, um, so if I actually change it, yeah, I've got these conveniences and I can really play with it. Um, could be SVG patterns, could be whatever. And that's what I'm going to show next. So now I want to add an image. So I use this base 64 encoder, and I think I found a new one that I actually prefer. No, this one's trash. I don't like this one. Was it? I think that one was good. I like that one. Whatever. Let's use this one. So I'm going to add that. Let's add this image. I'm going to get a base 64 code. And then the one I want is the CSS usage version, which there's the base code. But if you actually look at how images get added, no, we don't have the background anymore. Whatever. I'll show it later. So I'll copy this because I know that's the version I want because it's a CSS property and I'm going to add it to this style tag. Yeah, you'll see it updated. Why it's also convenient because base 64 is like 1,000 lines of text. You know, it's if the image is 400 kilobytes, that's 400 kilobytes of text. Imagine a Word document or a text document that is 400 kilobytes of text. That's like 50,000 characters. You know, it's kind of unmanageable. So if you can make it easy to manage and get this URL, and so I copied this entire segment here. And the thing is, it includes the CSS property, which is required to tell CSS now that's the background I want, the background image. So the image is technically embedded, it's not linked. Then, as we saw with how the the standard image works, in essence, that would be background, site, and contain. And that would be similar to when they had the image and it just kind of stops. But the beauty with the background class is the fact that well, automatically has a repeat functionality. So you'd actually have to disable repeat if you don't want it. So what we could say is background size 10%. And you'll see if you had a seamless texture, you could literally just use a small image and it would get auto repeated and you would have no issues. Like you'd have an optimal small page, and it would just keep scrolling with your page. So however long this page is, it'll just keep laying out the image. It's not duplicating content. It's using the same image multiple times, and you're not loading 1000 times 20 kilobytes or something. So it keeps your page size low. But I've got a big image, so I'm going to say cover. And then what cover will do is whatever the longest size is, it'll try and fill. So it will have a hard crop. So then we have to say, okay, background position. And I need you to do the crop center wise. So crop left and right towards the center. So now my image is more centered. Instead of cropping from only the right hand side, I'm centering the image and I'm cropping in that aspect ratio. Then I wish I could make this a lot longer. I wonder. Let's increase the canvas height so we can really see the effect of what's happening here. So this would scale with your image, your canvas, your page height, which that becomes a problem. But you still, I don't want to add another image. I don't want to add a longer image. So I need to do background attachment fixed. Now it's going to care more about what the height of the window is. And it's going to keep it in place. And I can scroll as far as I need. We can bring this down because I increased the canvas height. And I can really kind of see that it stays right there. Any content, no matter what height this canvas is, it's good because this is affected by the actual window. The rate. Oh, that's from the saving. So we can also see that, yeah, where it tries to pull the height properly. So if I actually increase this to a point, like if it's a extremely 50,000 pixel page, then you might start hitting limits. But honestly, okay, the canvas has a limit. This is the actual GoBrunch canvas. But if I were to extend it, this would keep zooming out to fill the longest space. So that gives you the fixed background. Now I can also add, and just to be clear now, you'll see this code here appeared. This is everything that's here. That's why I added that initial style, just so I can initialize this and work a little bit better. Because if I wanted to start working with that base 64 that is so huge in the code directly here, this is a mess. Like I can't keep track of this. I could maybe say edit attribute, but then you have this, you start getting overflow errors and stuff. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. If I were to say edit HTML on the full SVG viewport, then I've got a little bit more access, but that's just insane. So it's nice if I can just kind of try and initialize it here. And then add my properties here. And I was able to copy paste the code directly from here. Because it's properly formed. If it's not properly formed, you have to go in and edit. You're just causing trouble for yourself, really. Then you can actually then still add your background image. Now you'll get a sort of different effect. So this is at the top of the page. And if we scroll, it's gonna reveal the bottom, the fixed image. So that could be nice. And if we were to style this image now directly, we would do the same thing where we would add an initial property. And I would say do it directly through the style tag instead of trying to edit this class, which is just a hassle. So I'm just going to say, yeah, let's say edit as HTML. We still get this mess, but it just shows the different way of being able to add it. So I'm just going to, again, add a nonsensical tag, which I can always disable again. I'm just going to background red. This is just, again, to initialize this. Now I have the element style. So if we look at the edge here, there's not much you can do to an image tag um, in that regard. But there is a powerful feature called filter, and filter can have, for example, blur. And let's increase this to be drastic. 10 pixels. So it can blur the image. And we're actually gonna use the class eventually. But this is if you just wanted this image to be like, oh, but I actually want it a little bit blurred, or I want it gray scale, or I want it CPR. And again, the autocomplete just comes in super handy because I don't know any of these filters. But one of the ones that most people might want would be drop shadow. Let's just let autocomplete. So we see the shadow there. So X, Y's, we want 0. Y, we maybe want it to extend a little bit more. We want the blur to be quite drastic. So let's do like a 20. And then I'm not going to worry too much of that, but let's make it white. Or let's make it RGB value. Nah, let's just go stick with black. You can play with that. You can put in RGB also, yes. You could have it a sort of gray instead, comma 100. And you can have transparency. So let's actually add transparency, comma 0.5. And then this just needs to become an RGBA, which just means also use the alpha channel. Don't just use the. So now we've added that, and it should have that gray there. So if I actually increase the quality of this, and we'll just make it black because we're using transparency, you should have that be a little bit more translucent. So when I scroll, you still have that depth effect, but it's not as harsh as a solid black, for example. So you can play with that. So it's one way you can add that depth. And then if we want to be like, oh, this top image should change when people hover over it. It has this class by image, and the seats have a style associated with them. So if I go down, scroll, and I look for the defs tag, then I look for the style tag. I click the style tag, and then I want to edit that as HTML specifically because I do want the autocomplete. So now I saw the image had that tag on it, class on it. But let's say hover. So hover is a special attribute that means when the mouse is over item, do thing. So let's do the filter gray. See, auto completion here doesn't work as nice. That's why you can do it in a sidebar and maybe copy it, yeah. Whichever way, or Google it, whatever. So we can say, so when I do hover it, it should go grayscale, shouldn't it? I did earlier, I'm pretty sure. I don't have to add important or anything. Yeah. Okay, so I do have to add important. Now, important basically just says override whatever styling you've got before me, which you think, or after me, which you think is more important. You're wrong. I'm the most important. So important becomes very valuable in cases like, yeah, where you want to override the poll, or you want to override the stroke width. You need to tell it, ignore what we've already said. So important does that. So now whenever this image is, the mouse is over the image, it goes into grayscale and it will scroll down into this fixed background. Now, again, we can just delete the main background, which is the one you would have added through the normal methods. Just delete that and keep the background that we applied to the SVG view box, which is the full container. I guess I can undo. And then let's just say save and see if this actually persists. And there it persists. So whenever I'm hovered, yeah, that could have been a blur, a sepia, whatever. I guess it can be a bit jarring, doesn't matter. Just the taste. Or if I'm hovered over this section, I can remove or add that shadow even. Like it doesn't see this filter actually overrode the shadow filter anyway, because I said important. And then the filter is the property. Whatever the filter is applying isn't part, but you should be able to stack them. Um, so I can actually show that. I should be able. Why'd I do that? That is stupid. Um, should actually be able to stack this. So if I go back here into the seeds section, definitions, and here on the other, um, I see that it's overriding my shadow. And I kind of want to keep the shadow even though it's going grayscale. So I would just kind of maintain that. And I can copy that from what I saw above. Um, and I think it was 0 pixels, 10 pixels. Let's make the shadow move in 3 pixels. And I'm just going to say back. I'm not going to deal with transparency. I should be able to now see the shadow shift and get a lot harsher. So you can change that, and it just means shows how this filter overrides all the filters that you mentioned, because this is the property. It doesn't really know what's inside. Yeah. Um, then so I'm gonna remove the. Well, I'll keep it. It's fine. The next thing is these seats. So let's just resize the seats because I hate doing that. It's so big. Anyway, so that's hovered, blah, blah, blah. It's doing all the hover thingies. Now we just want to target these, which is where we went in. So that is our main background that you get via using the standard GoBrunch method. That's the class we are targeting with the hover. And this is the main container, which we added our own style. If it has a style tag already, for example, this circle has a style tag. I think they have style tags already applied. It's there. So it already has the style tag there, which means I can already edit here. So let's just make sure we're targeting the right one. So it's this one. And it has the style tag. So I can just keep adding here. And then what I can do, for example, is change. Let's overwrite the full. So we'll just put in, oh, well, let's just change the full, yeah. Click the little color box and then you'll see it updates. And the beauty of this is because once it has the style tag, it's actually updating it inside the content, which is allowing it to be saved or persisted. So you can't just be like on any element. Like for instance, this one has no styles. But if I add something, yeah, and I'll just say background red. It doesn't always do that. Like in this case, it did, but just keep that in mind. So if something feels like it's not persisting, so let's test if this persists. Style background red. We added via the inspected specifically. So when I say save, let's see if it maintains it. I have had situations where it doesn't persist. And I just figured it's because I didn't initialize the style tag. It's either that or maybe my mistake was I did via a class. But anyway, keep that in mind. If it does persist, good. You'll figure out the workflow and you can move faster. Things become a little bit easier then. So we'll just give this a look. G background red. Okay, so it does persist, so that was kind of nice. So if it says element, um, element style, then it tends to put that as inline. It's called inline CSS. Okay, now these seeds, their styles are controlled, yeah, but they also have hard-coded values directly on them. Those need to get overridden, and then we're going to use important. So we're going to edit this style as HTML, and then first things first, we're going to override the full. So we'll do, let me grab a color, yeah. Let me grab this kind of gold. Okay, so I'm going to override the full with mine, and for that I need to say important. I can click outside and or update important. Now it's got this dash array already set to 0, but you could also add the border already if you like. So let me just edit HTML so I can get the coding. So let's override the 0 stroke width, so it at least has a stroke from the get-go. So stroke width, and it will probably be that blue because that's also already hard-coded by default. So stroke width, and I'm gonna say 3 pixels. Important. Use our stroke width. Don't use this stroke width here. And that is from the blue, yeah, where it says stroke. So let's make it our brown, but a little bit a deeper brown, maybe. I'll say stroke. RGB, we'll just copy that, and to make it darker, it would be it's kind of a reddish, so we want the red and blue to shift up, I think. Let's make that like a 90, and we want a little bit more red. 200. I'm just guessing, guesstimating. What did I do wrong? Oh, see, because I didn't put this there important. So it doesn't apply our style, it applies the style that's on the element already. Right? Stroke. Doesn't it take an RGB value? It takes a hex value. Oh, good to know. Anyway, let's choose a darker color. I want it to be a darker color. And then we'll just grab the hex value. Whatever. Like, it's not gonna be a one size fits all thing anyway. Unless I just type something completely wrong. Like a moron. So we'll go with a string hex value. Oh, because I'm an idiot. I forgot the semicolon. That's why. So the RGB full worked. I wanted to see if my color was actually quite close. When I put this back as it was, I had this up to 80. I had this up to 200. Let's make it 210. Okay, let's actually light them. Oh, you know what? Could we select? Probably if it moves down to gray, it would be the better. Whatever, I'm over it. Let's use my color. Oh, so the numbers shift down. Okay, okay. I'm not a color theorist. Okay, whatever. Let's just drop this RGB in here. Okay, now I want that. So now it still has this dash array on hover, but the stroke was set beforehand, so it at least followed our stroke color that we changed. Now, if we want this dash array to not be there, the dashes, then we would create our own hover style. And it would just be .c colon hover brackets. And then in here, we would say, for example, stroke dash array. The way that they actually have it here by default, we would go to that and we would just make it 0. So it doesn't have dashes anymore, but we want it to have a solid. And I think that should give it a solid. No, it won't. It'll give it a, let's see. Oh, and important. Okay, so nothing changes. So we disable the hover. Some of times it seems like it remembers something, but it doesn't matter. Nothing changes. Okay, so now we do want it to change. So let's say we want the stroke to grow in size. So now, because we actually want the ball to seem like it scales. Now with SVG, you can't actually use the scale property without a ton of hassle because your coordinate system changes. So to fake it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say stroke width increase 10 pixels. Important because again, I'm overriding something that has been predefined and that should increase. Then let's make it seem like the whole thing grows because now it doesn't seem like the inner is the thing that's growing. So we'll have stroke width and then we'll just have the full be the same color as our stroke and it'll feel like this thing is kind of growing. Now it gives you that sense, but you don't need that. Then let's make it smoother. So on the base element, not the hover one, you can say transition everything for me. Like whatever things that change on the hover state, make it happen over 1 second period. You can have curves to it, linear in and whatever, but we're not going to deal with that now. So now it should be a lot slower. Yeah, like a little slow grow. You could do also 500 milliseconds. The human eye picks up changes within, then notice a difference of 400 milliseconds, I think. So 400 milliseconds. And that feels normal. 400, about 400 milliseconds feels like normal to us. Anything longer is kind of, we notice it quite drastically. But anyway, then now we have it growing. Then maybe we want it moving. And this way we'll use feature called, and I think it's called transform. And transform can be stacked the same way that the other one can be stacked, I think, but you just can't stack the same properties. So I'm not going to get into that. Um, I just kind of saw that. So now we'll have translate. And translate will have an X and a Y. So we want it maybe to move to the right. So let's say 10 pixels to the right. 10 pixels would be positive, starting from the center on the x-axis. If it was negative, it would move to the left. We'll test both of it. And then 0 on the y-axis. So we'll just say that. And because we have transition all on, so it will transition the full, it will transition the stroke width. If we had a stroke, different stroke color, it would have transitioned that. So all of these, so these can get quite resource intensive. But because it's a single item you're animating, it's not that big a deal. And then let me show you the negative would be left. So you can kind of picture that in your head, what is happening here. Um, or maybe we want to respond up. So it should rise up towards the button. Ugh, Okay, well, x-axis positive goes down. Doesn't matter. Whatever. Let's make it go up. Whatever it is, do the opposite. It's not really. So there we have that. Maybe we're like, okay, well, that's kind of cool. How about when it actually rises up, let's add a a shadow. You can't just use the normal box shadow. You have to use this filter, drop shadow, and it was the X. And if you're not sure, do it, yeah, in the sidebar, and you can always copy paste the auto completion and then just disable it again or whatever. Or you can, there's a lot of generators that you can Google that will give you the CSS code, gradients, all these kind of things. Like literally the background doesn't even need to be this. You can just make it a gradient. Anyway, filter drop shadow. So X 0 pixels, Y the down. So that was a positive number. 10 pixels. Let's just make it 3 pixels. The blur radius will make quite big, 5 pixels. And then we'll just go with the standard color again, black. No transparency or anything. Fancy, if you want that, you can do RGB values, or you can do RGB alpha values. Add some transparency. We're just going to go with a solid built-in color. And I must have typed something very, very wrong. Well, let's see. We must did this, yeah. Drop shadow RGB. Yeah, I don't feel like I did anything wrong. Oh, because I'm an idiot, isn't it? Filter, drop shadow, measure, blah, 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 blah. Let's see if this makes a difference. Now I'm going to get upset. Let's increase the axis. That is odd. Let's add it to the standard. Did I type things correctly? Semicolon. HTML. Semicolon, enter, copy, filter, drop shadow, 0, blah. 14. I don't see no shadow. Do I? Let's increase this blur to like 20. I don't see nothing. I must have typed something very wrong. So I'm just kind of not. Let's add the filter I want to add. So filter. Drop shadow. Let's just use that standard one. Copy paste this. Disable it and get my old filter back. Go back to style. Edit this. And see what changes. Filter drop shadow. Filter drop shadow. Oh, commas. The commas. It doesn't take comma values. And then we still need to add the important just in case. Okay, so remove that one. Now, when I spell English correctly, I should have the drop shadow. And it's taking a hot second to kick in, so let my browser just catch up. Okay, so there we have that. Let's reduce this blur to be center straight down. I'll do it quite large on the egg. Yeah. So you have that. And if you don't want the black, that pitch black, you can either choose a a purposefully chosen solid color, or you can do RGBA, and RGB black is just 000, obviously. So 0, 0, 0. The important part here is going to be the zero point 0.5. So solid black, but with a little bit of a transparency. And then we have that. And we can make it go left, right, top, bottom. That's changing this translation value. Um, and this can pretty much just apply to whatever. Like you could probably shift this image up if you wanted as well. For some reason, shift the background when someone hovers over it. Let's save this. Okay, so the big thing there is just to, like for instance, we're using the full. So when you're googling like how to change CSS background color, it's not really gonna give you the right answer because what you're dealing with here is SVG, which any program like Corel Draw or Vector Editor is gonna produce SVG. So in a sense, these circles can become diamonds or really whatever, because you would just change the SVG role of it. What you are doing though is you're obviously removing the ability to then customize things according to this really. Um, so all these elements like the radius and things like that. I don't know why you, oh, now you're catching up. See, this way important kind of becomes, well, important because of those default styles already applied to it. It can take a moment for them to get overridden, which is just going to be an unfortunate side effect. But this could be changed to a rectangle or whatever. What is your problem, bro? You're really confused, aren't you? And the more properties you transition, just keep in mind that might slow down things. But just changing the full and the stroke and stuff should be fine. You could default the dash array, for example, to be completely zero again. And yeah, we can change that. Um, I think this is pretty much good. So it could just be latency. Anyway, the other thing is how, because it's SVG, there's a issue with rendering. Um, so if I say I had a button, that's my button. And now, obviously, GoBrunch has a nice little lightbox feature, but doesn't really give the utilities to customize said lightbox features. So anything with a modal or a lightbox, there's two components: your content and your trigger. So until that gets added, a lot of clever people at GoBrunch, it seems, have figured out how to utilize to mimic such functionality. So I'm just going to main view. This is the only time I can see it. So this would be a trigger, and if I click it, maybe I want something else to open here in the lightbox, but it's not really possible, which makes actual buttons a bit of a hassle. So what they do is they add now another image and they'll give it some transparency. I'm just going to do it this way. I assume they go in. And then since the style's already on here, we can just say opacity. Let's make it semi-transparent, 0.2. And we can save that. Now, because of how GoBrunch actually loads their data, and I think this might be to do with a combination of opacity changes the rendering order of elements in some cases. It's because of the SVG, it being SVG element. If it was a HTML element, there would be no effect in order. So in a trigger situation, you would then have a transparent image here. You think you're clicking this button, but meanwhile, it's gonna utilize that effect to open this image as in the lightbox. Problem is when this room goes back into edit mode and it's already got the original content here in the background also. Like if we can't really see it. This page is actually duplicated right now. But now this order changed. Now it could be because the site is technically already in memory and then it gets loaded into the second window. It could be something like that. But it's unpredictable and it's a hassle. So you'd have to move this up the whole time. And remember, if you have like 20 buttons or something, the only way I really found around that does remove usability a lot, but I'm not gonna concern myself with that because this button, I can always just manually adjust the location. And that is gonna be directly on its X and Y coordinates, which is, yeah, on the G class image container. This. So if I shift this, let's move it, I think, to the right. Yeah, so I can always come in here and just do that since I'm gonna lose this ability for the most part, I think. I didn't test it much further. Now, the important class here is this UI image. And what happens on this thing is there's this href, which is the important part. So now that's my button. That's the thing I want to show, but that's not the thing I want to, well, that's the one I want to show before the lightbox, but it's not the image I want to show in full screen. So the way I found to kind of get around that would be to edit this as HTML, then add a empty href just to begin, and make sure you close this tag at the bottom manually because the browser might show that it's closed, but it doesn't actually always persist close tag. And then you get weird things where the save just doesn't work anymore because this A is actually extending the entire page. It's kind of odd. Just kind of close it manually like that. Okay. So those would be the important parts. And now we've got this image nested inside an A tag. And an A tag in HTML is an actual link. The beauty of this class here, this class, is it doesn't care. It literally just looks for this class, grabs their href, and we're going to use that to our benefit. So we're going to go back here. I hate when they wipe my things. And also open. I'll just grab the code again. This time the code that I actually want is this with the data, but without all the extra stuff. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to kind of edit that in. Like I could probably scroll this, I guess, from there to the end here. It just gets finicky. So I'm just going to copy this, open Notepad. Paste all that jumble of text. Go to the top, grab this declaration. I pulled a comma. I'm gonna copy that. I'm gonna prepend that to my notepad. There was another converter that actually did that exactly, but doesn't matter. So now I have the base 64 declaration. I can say Control A, copy. And I can go into our A tag that we created, and I can edit the attribute, the H reference attribute, equal with the thingies, and in between those, I can paste my code. So now, this is why base 64 can be very tricky to work with, but that's what we want. So let's save. We'll go back now. It'll condense the text and everything. Um, so this is the most reliable way I can see of getting around it. I'm gonna save it. We still need to shift the class. I just want to save it in case something. Ah, see, it did break my save again. I hate that it does that. So it's actually not the most reliable way. I wonder why it breaks the save. Is it just like an unfortunate side effect? If I remove, take this out of the A tag. Come on, move up. Catch your wake up, bro. Seriously. You're gonna get on my nerves right now. Move! Okay, whatever, it's moved out. Let's delete this. Let's just move that back into the tree tag. Why are you lagging? Okay, you should know. Okay, so that does break the save though. So weird. Hmm. Problem is if it does that without reason, then I can't reproduce it. Frankly, the solution is just they must add this feature and get done with it. That's the solution to all my concerns. Okay, so now it also removes my ability to move that thing. Mm. So I think this one might need a little bit more testing to find a reliable way of doing this. I would be in the mind of just deleting all of this, adding a custom A tag, I think. I said can't update once this is nan 200, 200. Oh, then that fixes the movement thing. I'm gonna try it again. So technically this is exact same as when I would have pulled it in by hand. What I need to figure out is why it breaks the tag, the image. Oh, edit is here. Expect JPEG, comma. Okay, so that's definitely what I'm doing there. There was one that I gave me exactly that, which I would prefer to have. I guess I could copy this and then just scroll down and in case I type something funky. So I'm gonna replace that. I'm gonna remove this and I'm just gonna remove the image tag, yeah. So I just want that exact text with apostrophes around it as like that. I wanna copy that. I wanna go in here and I wanna create my a tag with with the reference already. A href equals, we have the apostrophe already. Do that, closing bracket. There's the closing bracket. Go all the way down. Closing a tag. Save. Wrapped. It's wrapped. And it breaks the save functionality. So weird. Why would it do that? XY0, XY0. Let's give it an X and a Y. Let's say 100. It was working. I'm pretty sure I've had it working before. And it looks proper wrap. Okay, so there's that. It has an X and a Y. Still doesn't apply the save. That is quite irritating. What if I move you outside of the container? Move there. No, I don't care. I just need to know if you why you're breaking my save. Very odd. I've had this working. Copy, copy the element. And I'm just gonna delete all of this. Because I'm sick of it. Okay, like who you are. Go away. Does that fix save? No, that does not fix save. So what else could be affecting save? Let's just reload. So this is the problem with these things. Yeah, I had it working, but there's something else affecting this thing, I think. Come on, catch up. Catch up. Also, who are you? You go away. You go away. You go away. Don't know what you do. Don't care. Save. Why would it break it? Should I group them? I don't think I should group them. Must it have an XY position? A width and a height, maybe? Let's try it with a width and a height. Ah, go away. I don't want the background. Let's see. Add image. Read the bloody manual. Okay. Do I have my base 64? Yeah. I have my base 64, yeah. Inspect. Catch up. Thank you. Very much like it if you were to catch up. Maybe the recording's making me laugh, but that procure street founded and we're done, we're done. Okay, so let's see that. Let's see. Does it require a width and a height? So I'm not going to copy the href until last. So we're going to do a width equals. We're just going to mimic whatever the image is. So 200 height equals 40. Scroll down. There should be an X and a Y. I don't see an X and a Y. Let's use this X and Y. Yeah. X equals 234. Y equals 188. And the href equals, we already have apostrophes on our thing anyway. And closing bracket. Then at the end, close the A tag. And then exit. Can I save now? No, cannot save. Why does it break? Inspect. Okay, let's remove this. Does anyone need to move from the image tag now? We need to remove from there. And it needs to go onto this A tag. Can I save now? Oh, so it doesn't like that double nested UI image. I think that is it. Okay, so we definitely messed up usability in the sense that I can't move it around however I like anymore. But like I showed, we can do that in a code. It just takes a bit of focus. Um, okay, so now this will reliably do what it's supposed to be doing. Now, so our big issue here was the fact that I didn't already remove the image, the U image class from the image here when I nested it inside the A tag. I think once I have one set up, I also don't need this outer containers and stuff, but because we just don't have, well, we need the one outer container because that one has the location of this. And you can just fiddle with these numbers and move it a bit to the left maybe, and we'll move it down to the middle of the screen. And these buttons can still kind of move up. So we can bring it to the front and we can have them kind of be like this. Maybe this isn't about me with a CV. If you click it, it becomes a CV. So you can place them like that and you can use them as buttons. Then the other thing is to duplicate this. The best would be to duplicate this entire image container. Um, and we'll just do that. And then we'll move the top one. Let's move it up. We know the image is 40 high, so we'll give a gap of 60 pixels and we'll move it up. And then let's encode a different image. I actually want that different encoder that gave me the nice data. It gave me just this, which was nice. I like that encoder. Whatever. Let's change this file. So it's actually a pretty big image. I don't want to encode that. Whatever. We're gonna do that. We're gonna encode that, and then we'll use a different image for the button. Once you start duplicating it, you should be able to kind of play around editing things. So I'm just gonna do the whole thingamajig. Remove this closing bracket here. Keep the apostrophe. And go all the way to the top. Remove the image source. Keep the apostrophe. Take this. Go to my meeting. Change this button's target, which is the A ref. Click on the href and say edit attribute, and it should do weird things like that, which is nice because now I can kind of remove all that huge text without too much concern and just remove the apostrophes. We have apostrophe in already. I should be able to just paste, exit out, and now we'll have a new target. And it would do the same for the href on the button image if you wanted to change the button. The important thing is having the class U image on the A tag and having the image nested in the A tag. Yeah, that file is like 800 kilobytes, so it will take a bit. I really thought this video was going to be a lot more succinct, like 20 minutes maybe. I don't know. It doesn't feel like there's a lot to show. But whatever. So when it comes to the order of these layered images, unfortunately, the moment you add opacity to them, and I think even without, if you had kind of effects on them or something, the order can't be ensured because of the way that GoBrunch is loading the data, I think. Anyway, so that one will go to this button that we updated, and that one will go to that button. And I'm never going to have ordering issues because the image is nested inside of the button. And then this button can then go anywhere I want. So let's duplicate it again. And frankly, just remove the image. And then I'm going to do something else. So we'll duplicate this button here. We'll put it in the top right, maybe. Actually wondering about a little bit about scalability, but we'll have a look at that now. Let's go to the main image container. So I'm just maintaining this because I could technically just duplicate this section here, but I'm just duplicating both because I can. So we'll go there and we'll duplicate this element and we'll move it to the top right corner. I think that should be about 1,000 pixels and only about, let's say, 200 pixels. Where did I move it to now? 1000 pixels XY? Am I stupid? How does my coordinate system work? Ah, 200 pixels. Okay. Pretty much top right corner. Anyway, whatever. Um, then for this one, I'm gonna go in. I'm gonna delete this target image, and I actually don't need this class anymore. No, I'm stupid. I want the target image. I don't need the class anymore. And I think I can just do that with a basic image. So let's do that. Because now I just want a normal link. So I'm going to do add image upload. We'll add this one and it'll become a normal link. Because we don't need fancy swapping. We just, why? Why is that an option? Inspect. So I'm just gonna go, yeah, and I want this image to not link there. And I'm just gonna say href. I don't even want this image actually. Oh, I want the button, don't I? No, I was right. I was right. So let's just delete this. Let's go back to this one. The nested A, because the A is the thing that's important, yeah. But the href we're going to change on this, and we're going to take away that class. Edit as HTML. Oh no, I want it to break. So edit attribute break. Now I can do HTTPS com, and I should be able to say target equals blank. I keep that. I take this class away. I don't want it to open in a lightbox. I wanted to keep this image. I wanted to link me to Dreamport. I can still change that image base by updating the base64 code. One day when you save, I'll be so happy. Well, technically it's got a 800 kilobyte image, yeah. It's got a 400 kilobyte image, yeah. It's got an 800 kilobyte image in the background. So all in all, it's about 2 meg file. Not really big. Single page of Facebook is like 10 megs. Um, please, pretty please, I'd beg thee to save. And let's see if this works. So I removed the uImage class to not trigger the code that says fetch the image that's in the H reference. And it should take me to a new page. So keep me here because of target blank. And that should work. So now I have a fancy button for any link that I might want also. I think that's about it. Like stacking order is going to be an issue, but for most part, there's workarounds if you don't mind just digging in a bit. And like we lost the ability to position these things via the drag and drop. But if that's not an issue, then you technically don't even need all of that extra grouping code too much and all of that. I think that's that.